Attention Austin guitarist, are you in need of setup or repair on your axe? Well, I have the guy for you. That's my friend Jason Swedberg over at J. Scott Lutherie. You can find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook. Gang, I've been taking my guitars to Jason for over 20 years, and not only does he do the very best job, but he has the fastest service and the best prices in town. Find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook or jason.swedberg@gmail.com. Gang, whether it's acoustic or electric, Jason is your guy. Get your guitars fixed. Folks, are you tired of people telling you your band is too darn loud when you're just trying to practice in your house or garage? Well, if you live in Austin, I have the solution for you. That's Space Rehearsal and Recording. Space is a state-of-the-art affordable venue for rehearsal and recording, located just a few miles south of downtown Austin. They have 31 spacious rooms, great PAs, fantastic courteous staff. They have everything you need to get your artistic business together at Space. Find them at 512-448-9518 or go to spaceatx.com and start playing as loud as you want in Space Rehearsal and Recording. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week thus far. It's Wednesday, hump day. That's what they call it in the business, in the broadcasting and narrowcasting. Hey, man, welcome to hump day. It's Wednesday. Y'all gonna come out to happy hour, or hump day happy hour, with the heebie-jeebies? Remember that band? I just had Eddie Hernandez on the show. Hey, listen, guys. I want to talk to you about something. It's kind of weird, but I do want to talk to you about something, and it's about the way you listen to the show. So I get the numbers as they're happening. Like, I can check them every hour and see how many people have listened in the last hour and to what podcasts they've listened to and stuff. And especially since COVID, and I was locked at home, I started taking in people from all over the country because I was doing them on Zoom anyway. So, and I know that maybe a couple of these bands you never heard of ended up being kind of duds on the show. That's true. I know. I know because I see the numbers, and I know because I'm doing it. And while I'm doing it, and it's a bad one, I'll know. But I think sometimes as listeners, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking to hear from people you know. Oh, cool, like today's show. I've got Nobody's Girl on the show. It's got Grace Pettis, Betty Sue, Rebecca Loby. Austin singer-songwriter, Americana, staples, stars in a town that really fetishizes Americana music, you know, more than almost anywhere else outside of Nashville, right? Okay, so I had a guy on Monday named Casey Anderson, whose story is amazing. Like, this dude's story is, he was strung out on drugs and alcohol, and he ran this scam, and he ripped a bunch of people off. He ended up going to prison for it, and he did his time, and he cleaned himself up. He's in recovery, and he's trying to lead a life of redemption. He's got a family. He's got a kid now. He's released some really great albums. Musically, he's absolutely fantastic, like fantastic artist, man. As an Americana singer-songwriter kind of guy, like he's fucking amazing. Bob Lefsetz, if you know who that is, a guy that puts out this letter and has for years, and he's kind of like a tastemaker in the industry. And every once in a while, when he sees someone that he thinks is amazing that no one's heard of, he writes something about them. That was the Bob Lefsetz thing. He said, Kathy Valentine, I was at her house the other day. We were hanging out. And she told me, oh, yeah, she was like, who's coming on the show? And I told her, Casey Anderson. She's like, oh, I know Casey. I was on his show. So he does this, he does a podcast where he talks to musicians in recovery about recovery. And our conversation is stellar. Stellar conversation, but the numbers were terrible. And I think that's because you guys might have been cruising around and being like, Casey Anderson, oh, I don't know this guy. He's from Portland. I don't know. I might not ever engage with that kind of thing. But you got to trust me sometimes. I know I've dropped a couple of duds. Out of 1,060 shows, 61 shows, there's going to be a couple of people on there that aren't great. And I'm being generous when I say a couple. So, but this one was fantastic, and the numbers were very, very bad. So what I wanted to say was, like, if you're out there and you're looking for new music and you want to check this shit out, trust me a little bit on this, because I'm bringing you some music from people from all over the country that you might really, really like. I think people that like Nobody's Girl would also like Casey Anderson, right? So that's my thing for the day. Try when you see, like, look, I listen to shows. I listen to podcasts too. Like, I walk all the time. I listen to podcasts almost every single day. And so there's a lot of times there's a podcast that I listen to on the regs and they have someone I don't know and I skip it because I don't know the person. And I bet I'm missing out on some people there. So, and also, I get addicted to things. I was thinking about this today because when Mike Campbell released his solo album back in like December or something, I was at the beach with my family and I was walking every day and I was listening to podcasts. Well, one day I listened to 4 podcasts with Mike Campbell on it just because I love him and I wanted to hear everything he had to say, even if it was the same 12 stories 4 times in a row. I wanted to hear it because I love him. So I understand that, but also, like, let yourself get turned on by some people. Trust me, as a host, I'm bringing you some stuff. I'm trying to vet artists a little bit better that are coming to me from everywhere. I turned down a few this week, and I felt bad about it because they're publicists that I regularly work with. But sometimes these artists, if you can afford a publicist, you can get, through to my email and through other people's emails, and all of a sudden now we've got all this shit. So I'm going to try and stop the poop from coming through, and you trust me, when you see a person on here you don't know, check it out. Give it the benefit of the doubt. Okay? Casey Anderson. Go back and listen to episode 1060. Guys, for episode 1061, I have a tremendous show for you. Yes, finally, Grace Pettis, Betty Sue, Rebecca Loby, all together, known as Nobody's Girl, are my guests today. I have a self-titled LP dropping on July 30th. They're going to be going on tour and doing shows in July, August, and October. So go to wearenobodiesgirl.com to find out everything about that. They've been dropping singles. They got songs out. Check it out. Kansas is a great song. In fact, fucking fantastic song. And they just dropped a cover of So Far Away, the song by Carole King, which they covered on this new self-titled LP. Produced by the great Michael Ramos, my dear friend, who was actually on the show as well. So wearenobodiesgirl.com. Go there, check it out. They have 4 singles out, I think. I'm going to play So Far Away because that's the latest single. The great Carole King song. They do an amazing version of it. They write these songs specifically for this band. Like, they're all individual artists. If you don't know Grace Pettis, Betty Sue, or Rebecca Loby, they're all individual artists on their own, making records. They came together organically. They went to write a song together at this retreat place that was owned by a record label. And when the record label heard the song that they wrote, they signed them on the spot. And they became Nobody's Girl. They put out an EP back in 2018. And I've had each of them on. In fact, Grace Pettis was just on a few weeks ago. She put out a brilliant record this year called Working Woman. Fantastic record. I suggest you go out there and check it out. Rebecca Loby was on last year. I remember during the pandemic, I remember doing a Zoom with her. We actually had to do this on Zoom because Betty Sue was in Vermont. So Nobody's Girl, we have a fantastic conversation about what each of them has been up to, how they handle this thing as a group. Again, as I said, they write songs specifically for Nobody's Girl. They don't. They're not just throwaway Grace Pettis songs or Betty Sue songs or Rebecca Loby songs. And all of these guys, I don't know very well, but I've known Rebecca Loby for a long time, and she's been on tour since I met her in 2006. So as far as I know, she was on tour for 14 years straight or 15 years straight. And had the last year off, and is really sort of like, people are sort of recalculating how they're going to handle touring and how they're going to handle being away. Because I think some people got a taste of being home and kind of really liked it. I've been talking to a lot of artists about that. But Nobody's Girl is heading out and doing a tour all over the United States, playing shows all over the United States in July, August, and October. Go to wearenobodiesgirl.com and get involved there. I really, really enjoyed my conversation with them. I love all these women. They are super talented, and they make a great, great band. So without further ado, here's Grace Pettis, Betty Sue, Rebecca Loby, Nobody's Girl. Let's get down.
It would be so fine to see your face at my door. It doesn't help to know you're just time away.
Man, congratulations. This record comes out on July 30th. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
There was somewhere I saw it was originally going to come out in February, right?
Well, it was originally going to come out in the July of 2020.
Oh.
Or was it June? Summer 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, summer 2020.
Why didn't you guys
Million
release
years
it
ago,
then?
in other words.
I'm joking.
You know, it really made sense for us to do it then because we're a harmony trio and
Yeah.
wait, no.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you get it.
You guys did stay busy though during the pandemic. You made some nice videos of yourselves singing. You were able to sing together on like a cappella or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Betty Sue taught us how to use the acapella app very patiently. Well, first she taught herself, and then she taught us
Yeah.
very patiently.
For which they'll never forgive me.
There's some wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Whatever. It was
many of my
totally
takes.
easy. It's a 4-minute video. It took 4.5 minutes to make. No.
Hours.
Did it take? How long does it take to make one of those videos for one song?
Well, it depends on if you're Betty Sue or Grace. But
Come on.
if you're Betty Sue, it takes 4 minutes. If you're Grace, it takes 4 hours.
It's deceptively easy because it or I don't know whichever way that goes, but it's everything is one take, right? So so if you have to anticipate other people's harmonies before they're singing the lead, then it can be a little tricky, but
Exactly. I mean, do you want to get nerdy about it, Johnny? Do you want to hear some nerd?
I would love to hear some nerd stuff. Yeah.
Cool. So one major difference with this record, as opposed to the EP that we already released together, is that we switched from sort of being a songwriter in the round type of format to being a band with 3 lead singers. And we switch who's singing lead
Right.
mid-song constantly. We'll switch between verses and choruses. We'll switch within verses sometimes. And it's fun. And our voices are it's strange because I think of our voices as all being incredibly different. But when we're singing as a group, like our moms can't tell who's singing lead. It's like really strange how we kind of blend for our group songs. So exactly like Betty Sue just mentioned, when we do these videos where we all have one take to perform one at a time, these videos that we've been doing together remotely, it's like I'll sing nothing on the first verse, lead on the first chorus, harmony on the second chorus, but the lead hasn't been put down yet. And it's, we're trying to weave something together. I don't even know why we did that to ourselves, but we decided it was technically possible. And therefore, we were going to keep ourselves busy in the summer of 2020 by attempting it. And we did 3 or 4 of them. And honestly, I'm glad we have them because it's a sweet little memento of that insane time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an insane time. So all of you guys have been on here individually, and since you guys became a band, I was like, oh, I gotta get these guys on the show, these ladies on the show, these guys. I say dude and guys and like man and all that. Do you guys? Okay,
I
good.
and dude are my pronouns, actually.
Same.
That's good.
Just ignore this here. I actually go by dude. I should actually change that right now. I'm going to do that.
So tell me how this came together. How did you guys come together, and how did you was it singing? Because there is a vocal blend before we go too far into this, there's a thing that to me distinguishes groups that sing together. Like there's a sound, the Beatles, obviously, the Eagles, the Bee Gees, when those people sing
Our
together.
peers.
Yeah, exactly. Our good friends.
Yeah.
There's like a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Like there's a sound that you'll only get with those people singing, and
Yeah, sorry.
and
go
it's
ahead.
identifiable. And you guys have that.
I was just going to say, just kind of like what you're saying is a very sweet compliment, by the way. Thank you. But also sort of piggybacking off of what Rebecca said a minute ago about our moms not being able to tell us apart sometimes. Like, even though we have different voices, I think like that when we sing together, we kind of channel like the same sort of spirit of the song.
Yeah.
Maybe because we write all the songs together, which really sets us apart from a lot of other groups. But we have a communal spirit of the song that we are all being true to. And so we're able to kind of just like pick up and leave off with each other, and stay in sort of like the vibe of the song, which even as like a solo artist, if you're in the studio and you know this, like if you sing something and then you stop and you have to, punch it and come back and do another take, it can be hard to match the exact like tone and feel of the vocal that you just laid down. Like maybe your next one is a little too aggressive or a little too breathy, and it could be hard to like find that spirit again. And I think that that's the thing that we do well, is that we listen to each other and we're able to kind of ride the same spirit of the lyric that we're singing.
Yeah. Wow, that was really, really well said.
Thanks.
Real quick before we get into the origins of this band, so you guys do write this stuff together. So these aren't like records that didn't make it on the Rebecca. These songs aren't songs that didn't make it on the Rebecca Lobe album or something. I'll give it to Nobody's Girl. So how does that songwriting thing? What does that look like when you guys do that?
Sometimes it starts. I mean, I think they. It's just like, I think, a typical co-writing session. Sometimes you all come in fresh and then you're brainstorming together. Sometimes we're all going through our notebooks and looking for hooks that we haven't ever developed, or, little melodic ideas that we haven't written yet. But just like, I think like a lot of our co-writing sessions with other people, we start off talking about what's going on in our lives and catching up about what we've been processing or things that we've been reading in the news and our reaction to it, our personal take on what's going on in the world. And the natural outflow of, a day that we've set for writing. So that's kind of sitting on the mind, but we're just talking and relating to each other and listening to each other as people. Then we're like, you know what? We seem to be really connected to this topic. Like, what's there for us to write about, and I think it's been really rewarding, because I think in the best way that co-writes can happen, we all ended up with songs that none of us would have written on our own, and I think that's one of the best rewards of co-writing. So I think we've been really lucky that way.
Well, totally, and I think that it gives this music an identity of its own outside of three very powerful solo artists,
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nice. I'm like, let's do this podcast all day long.
Well, I'm going to be mean in a minute. You'll see. I'm just joking.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to how did you guys get this together? How did this come together? Which I'm sure you've had to tell 1,000 times, but 1,001.
All right. You're actually the first person who's ever asked. It's crazy. So, way back in 2017, it is the obvious, natural first question to ask a group of three songwriters.
Good. Thank you.
So, back in the summer of 2017, my agent Mary and I were scheming how to, this is Becca, by the way, my agent Mary and I were scheming how to like put together a fun tour for the following spring. Like what would make things a little different. It was going to be an off year for me, no album release. And we just thought, it'd be cool, like strategic. Let's put together a package tour with two other singer-songwriters. And I called Grace, because honestly, Grace had approached me, Grace's husband, Chris, had asked me about doing this maybe 5 years before. So I'd always had her in the back of my mind as maybe doing a package tour with Grace. And she was immediately on board, and we started brainstorming who would we love to have on tour with us for a few weeks. And we both said, well, God, Betty Sue would be the obvious first choice, but there's no way she'd agree to this because she's, really busy. She's really cool. And we just figured it couldn't hurt to ask. So we texted Betty Sue. We told her about the date window and the general idea of this one-time package tour. And she immediately wrote back and said, sure. So that was really like the seed of the whole thing. And then we did a photo shoot, and we got together to record a video of the three of us singing together. Honestly, again, for strategic, lame-o business reasons. We wanted the venues we were playing to have a taste of what we would sound like as a band, and we wanted to give them a video to use to promote this package tour. Yeah. So we got together. We're all stupid busy and tour way too much and didn't actually have time to get together, all three of us at the same time, to practice before this video shoot. But, you know, Grace and I got together and worked out an arrangement. We picked the song Fast Car. We sent a video of us singing it together to Betty Sue, and then Betty Sue shows up in the studio with a harmony ready to go and a badass guitar part ready to go, and we just started singing. And that was the first moment we ever sang together, was filmed and edited together into this video, and we put it out on Facebook again to like generate some interest in this tour, and it went what we lovingly call mini viral. Like, you know, obviously we didn't get invited onto the Ellen show or anything, but it got several hundred shares in just a few hours, which is kind of big movement in the folk world. And we got a lot of venues interested, and our fans were all really excited about the tour. And some friends of Grace's who own a recording studio invited us to come out and do a writing retreat if we wanted to get together as a group and write. So we'd been talking about maybe writing one song together to have like something cool to close our show with. Grace and Betty Sue are both very like fluid co-writers, and it's not my primary mode of creativity, and I'm honestly kind of scared of it, but I went along with it because I can't say no to these two beautiful mermaids. So I followed them out to Fisher, Texas, and we got together to write one song for our one-time tour, and we stayed in this beautiful artist lodge for like 18 hours. And the next morning, when the owners came to bring us breakfast tacos, we asked if they wanted to hear the songs we had written, because we'd written 3, and we played them our new songs, and they said, I'm not kidding, Johnny, I swear to God, they looked at us and said, that's really great. Would you guys like a record deal? And we said, do you have one? And they said, well, yeah, we're starting a record label out here at the studio, and we'd love for you to be one of the first bands we sign. And so we had not played a single show together, but we went ahead because, you know, life's short. Sign the record deal. So we went ahead and we signed a record deal as a band and recorded an EP before the tour even happened. Wow. And that is how Nobody's Girl came to be.
Before we had a band name.
I was
before
we
were a
before
band.
we were a band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
all true.
We had not performed a show together, nor had we decided to be a band. Yeah. We decided to do a 3-weekend tour.
Yeah.
I feel like every time we say that, I feel like
shows.
It's like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
A 3-weekend tour, and then it just became, we just lived it over and became our whole lives. Yeah.
Grace and I really like to joke that we tricked Betty Sue into joining a band with us.
But it's true. I mean, it's a fact. But I was just going to say, too, that, I mean, Rebecca was very kind and generous, saying like we were all very busy and had lots of things going on. These two did. This is Grace speaking, but I did not in that year. I mean, that was, things were starting to pick up, but that was at the end of a very long kind of desert in my professional life where just nothing was happening for me. So I just want to say that like when I got that call from Rebecca, that was by no means like an assumption that I would, you know, that she would ask somebody like me to go on a tour with her. I feel like I didn't bring that much to the table, you know, in terms of fans or whatever. And she took a risk on me, and I really felt like I got the call, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And felt very, very chosen.
So sweet.
In that moment. And it really did kickstart a lot of good things in my life. It was around the same time that a lot of other great things were happening. And then when Betty Sue said yes just to that tour. I mean, just that tour was like the highlight of my year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With like touring with these two women.
Yeah.
And then when it just sort of magically turned into a band, it was like, yeah, everything felt very
organic.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really good for me.
That's amazing. And Ramos did that first record too? Waterline? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hadn't met Michael Ramos before. Had you guys?
No.
I met him.
You knew him, right?
Well, I knew him through the label, but
yeah, I didn't know him well, but I had met him because of all of our friends in common with George, and
right.
And so we were both on the tribute to George, and I think I feel like we met in passing a couple times that last year.
Wait, so that was 2017?
I think so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, that's wild.
that we got together, and then the record was printed in like April. We went on tour April 2018 and officially released in September of 2018.
Yeah, we recorded the EP weeks after we wrote the songs.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
In some
It was
cases,
very fast.
minutes.
And Ramos became the A&R guy for that label, right?
Well, he's kind of the in-house, go-to
Okay, producer guy.
standby producer
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, and brings a lot of, his Rolodex and talent to their projects there.
Man, you guys, you guys have a Charlie Sexton, Glenn Fukunaga, Conrad Chicron, J.J. Johnson, Polkingham.
It's an embarrassment of riches, the
Yeah.
incredibly talented musicians that Ramos brought into these sessions. Just people who have played with our heroes and whose music we've known for years. And it's really exciting.
And all good, great hangs, too. Were you able to hang out with all those people while they were recording and stuff, or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I think the hang is the most important instrument in the studio, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be in a session with somebody who makes me feel good when we are together than somebody who's like ridiculously talented but makes me feel terrible
Yeah.
or is just not fun to be around. I think it's so important.
I have the same thing with the band thing. Like, I'd rather tour with I'd rather tour with Lou Reed on lead guitar if he was nicer than Yngwie Malmsteen. You know what I mean? That was a very odd reference. Sorry.
I was going to say that's a really fun comparison.
Yeah, it's deep cuts.
But I mean, I think we're so lucky in Austin because there are so many incredible players who happen to be great people, right? I mean, we don't have to choose between
Totally.
skill and good hang. I mean, since we've already invoked the name of George, I mean, he was kind of that guy,
king of that.
too.
Yeah.
The king of that, like
Yeah.
such easy vibes and incredible talent. So.
I've known a lot of those guys. Like, I've known Michael Ramos since I was, I think, 15.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was in a band with him when I was 16. And he's the first guy. He played me Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. First guy that ever played me that. Like, in his car, we were going to park. And he was like, have you heard this? He put it in. He's still older than me, though. But what a great... it's funny, Rebecca, you said a folk artist, and I don't think this is a folky record, or I don't think the last one was.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
And I understand how it would fall in the wheelhouse of Americana, because that's just kind of like the place where if you have drums and electric guitar in your music now, that's kind of where it goes, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's taken the place of like rock and roll. Like, oh, that's
Totally.
it can be anyone from you guys to like Scrappy Judd Newcomb or something. You know what I mean? Stays Americana.
It's a big tent.
Yeah. But, I mean, what do you label this music? Because I would consider it almost like adult contemporary pop.
I think that's right. I think the reason the folk label kind of creeps in is, first of all, because all three of us have roots in that world. But we also, I think, approach our songwriting in a very storytelling kind of way.
Yeah.
And in a very, like it's not just here are... Not that I'm saying we dislike this, because we all worship songs that are like 5 hooks, bang right after each other and like
Right.
create, the Cars, right? I mean, like we love songs like that, but our songwriting tends to be more like, here's a whole picture of us, like this story or this presentation that we want to give you, and a message or whatever. And I think that definitely is inherited from the folk tradition. So
Yeah.
I think there is still that tether.
Yeah, I understand. Now that makes sense to me. But it's great that you're able to package it in a way that isn't, just the regular old acoustic guitar person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A friend of Betty Sue's called us a glam folk project, which I always thought was
love
really
that.
funny.
That's a cool name.
It's
It's
weird it came out with so much glitter, because we weren't like shooting for that, but it just sort of happened. It's like fun, and
Yeah.
it's tight harmonies, and it's very in the pocket and feels great with a band. It's just sort of, it just kind of came out that way.
There was a thing in the email from your publicist that was like if the Bangles came out in the era of Americana music, which to me makes a lot of sense too. I thought that was really good.
I like that.
Thanks, Wendy.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
Here's something funny that happened. I was cleaning my house and listening to it. I had it playing in the background, and there's this song started, and I was like, shit, man, what song do I know that is exactly like this? And I'm like, that sounds like that Eliza Gilkyson song. And I was like, man, these guys ripped her off, dude. And then finally I'm like, wait a minute, this is the song. What is that song? Beauty
Way.
Beauty Way.
Yeah. I think I sang on that record.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is there a song called Welcome Back on there? I think so.
I'm the worst at knowing track listings.
Well, anyway, I thought it was a brilliant cover. What made you cover that song? Are you guys all fans of Eliza?
Yeah.
Yeah, big fans.
Yeah.
We all love her as a human and as a songwriter, as a performer. I mean, watching her on stage is always like a performance masterclass to me.
Yeah, it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi or something.
She totally
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And she's so classy towards her band, towards the audience, and towards herself. She like respects herself on stage,
Yeah.
which I'm not always natural at doing, and I feel like when she does that, it elevates everybody in the room. And I just think and we all think she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great observation that she respects herself on
Yeah, I've
stage.
never heard someone say that, but that
yeah.
really makes a lot of sense. Sorry, Rebecca.
No, I was just going to say that articulates something that's really important to me that I hadn't really understood why. But I feel like, when I'm performing, it's important to me that the audience feel that they're able to trust me to take them on the journey we're about to go on. And so, it's like I want the audience to feel, whether I'm with Nobody's Girl or on my own, I want the audience to feel like they're getting on the bus. I am the bus driver. I'm going to take careful care of them and their feelings for the next 2 hours. And all they have to do is sit there and process their emotions and feel their feelings and laugh when it feels good and have a good time. And for that reason, like, it drives me nuts when a songwriter's like, do I have time for 2 more? Or, like making self-deprecating jokes. Cause I feel like, no, the bus driver doesn't make fun of themselves. Like, the bus driver, you have confidence that the bus driver is not going to drive you off the road. And that just makes so much sense to me. So anyhow, thank you, Betty Sue. Another great therapy session. I will. I feel like we made a great breakthrough today.
We did. We always do. But I was going to say about that song in particular, because, every song in her catalog is just a perfect, exquisite gem of a song. But that one felt really true for us because, well, we all love it, but also, it's about the artist's path, and you can sort of, in sort of that great folk story song tradition, you can kind of, it's like the hero's journey, and you're starting in this first one and as you go along. And for us, it just resonated on a personal level. It's just like, that's the road that we also want to walk. And she's somebody that we admire and aspire to be like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt right to sing that song and try to claim it a little bit as our story as well. If we have a right to do that.
Who brought it to the band?
I don't remember.
Betty Sue.
Was it Betty Sue?
Betty Sue. Mm-hmm. I actually didn't know the song. I love Eliza and I love a lot of her music, but I wasn't familiar with that
music,
one.
Man.
Yeah. Oh, what a gift. And I remember Betty Sue suggesting it. We were kicking around. We knew we wanted to do one well-known cover and one cover that should be well-known, one cover by a revered friend and hero. And we were talking about different options, and Betty Sue suggested Beauty Way, and Grace immediately lit up. And I just felt like, I have some catching up to do. I need to go listen to this song.
We're having a conversation with Eliza. I mean, so many. She's so sympathetic to kind of our generation of singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
Because she's, and she'll talk about how, she watched, much like the story of that song, right? Watching her dad and that generation of songwriters who were able to make a pretty damn good living, right? Just like the song says. And then she says, and I never thought I would be in a position where I would be looking at the next generation of songwriters and going, oh my God, you guys feel that way about me.
Yeah.
that I was able to make a pretty damn good living. And you guys, it gets harder every generation to make that living. And it's supposed to be a way of beauty, but instead it becomes this way of struggle.
Right.
And I just think it always just really knocks me off my feet that she's so perceptive about. I think it's so easy for us to just be in the bubbles of our own struggles, and she's so perceptive of ways that she's grateful for things that she's had easier than certain other people. And I really love that about her.
Yeah. I've known her since I was like 13 or so too. My mom was friends with her, and I love her. I used to look after Cisco and Delia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they were little kids. So that was a very beautiful description of a very wonderful person. When you were did you write more songs for this than you did? Like, were there like a lot of songs to choose from for this LP? There's a lot of silence, a lot of drink. You know what I'm talking about?
I think we're all trying not to interrupt each other and trying to remember whose turn it is. That's what's going on.
It's nobody's turn. Nobody's girl. Nobody's turn.
I think we started more songs a bunch for this, but because we knew we were writing towards a record, I think pretty much everything we finished that we loved is on the album.
Okay.
I think that's, with one exception. We have a special song that's not on the record that you have to come to live shows in order to hear it. It is, I think, one of the best metaphors for life in general. It's called Creamed Corn. And
it was impossible to record, but we love it a lot.
It was impossible to record. Right. We tried. Yeah, it's kind of goofy, but also really wonderful, in my very humble opinion.
So before we get off this album, tell me what it is that Ramos brings to the table for you guys. What does he inject into the mix there? Into your stew?
Gosh, so much. I mean, first of all, his decades of relationships with great players, right? I mean, you've already named so much of this all-star cast that we've had on both the EP and the LP. And so much of that comes from the goodwill that Michael has with all of these players. The fact that he calls them and they say yes. I mean, we're so lucky to have that. He, has an ear for arrangement and for, production. And I think there are times, that one of the great things and the hard things about being in a trio that's truly, everybody's on equal footing and has an equal vote is, just like you saw us pause before we answer a question.
Right.
We're all a little bit I'm so lucky to be in a band with two people who are very considerate and who don't want to step on my toes, and likewise, that goes all the way around. But that also means that sometimes you're not as forthcoming with your opinions about things or making quick decisions that need to be done in the studio as you would be if it were your own solo project.
Right. I understand that.
And so Michael was there to just be like, I think this. And even if we all hate it, at least it gives us a starting point to all say, no. Right? Whereas if nobody was coming forward with that first thing, we might just kind of hem and haw and find a polite way to bring up an idea.
Right.
So I think he really brings that because he's very assertive with his opinions and with his ideas, and we needed that.
Yeah. He's also one of the funniest people I know.
He's really funny.
I have a question for you, but really quick, I want to share this story with you because it's really funny. I was making a record out in California, and we flew him out to play on some songs, and it's not funny, but it's super funny. So my dad was like this criminal dude, and he was like not sentenced. He was convicted of like money laundering and bank fraud. But I got the call, like Michael went into the ISO booth where the organ was, and then I got the call. So I'm like laughing and we're all having a great time. And when he comes out from doing the take, I'm like crying. And he, first of all, just him asking what the hell happened in between me going in there and coming back was making me laugh like through the tears. And then when I told him what happened, he's like, damn it. And they let OJ walk. And he went back in the room. And I laughed so hard. It was one of the best moments of comic relief in a long time in my life. So all of you guys, I mean, I know especially you, Rebecca, you have just been on the road. Like your life has been like in a car going around the United States and have you've gone to Europe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've just been going around. Okay, so everyone got a year off. Yeah, and around and around. Everyone got a year off, and there are people that I've noticed that I've been talking to, and even people that I've played with that are like, I'm not going back to what I was doing before. That was insane. Taking a year off wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I can remember my child's name or whatever kind of thing is going on, or you know what I mean? And then some people have been reinvigorated, like our friend Scrappy. You guys are friends with Scrappy, right? I mean, that dude like started his own band, and he's out. He's playing shows. He's doing the whole thing like he wasn't doing before. So people have gone at it two ways. So let me ask you guys one at a time. Rebecca, you first, because I know I've seen you on the road now for like 15 years.
Yes, you have.
And
okay.
So,
well, fine.
And so what did this year, your assessment of 2020 and taking a year off from touring and stuff like that, how are you going to reapproach touring?
Well, I'll just say that about 4 days into lockdown, where I had just canceled, 100 shows and was looking at an empty calendar for the first time, my lovely therapist on a Zoom call gently said, I would just like to acknowledge that it's taken a global pandemic for you to take the time off that you've been saying you needed for years. No judgment. Let's just sit with that for a moment. Yeah. So that's kind of the energy I was bringing in to the pandemic, is that I had been, like you said, touring for 15 years. And every year I pushed a little harder, just like 10% harder. I wanted to tour more, go farther, accomplish more every year than I had the year before. So after 15 years, I mean, I was pushing myself just 90 miles an hour, 365 days a year. And there were some incidents, even just in the last few months of touring, where I was threadbare and probably like a little past the stage of burnout. And so what I did as soon as the lockdown started was take a full 3-week hiatus from everything, where I logged out of my email, logged out of all social media, excused myself from all work-related texts, and just spent a few weeks like kind of recalibrating my physical and mental health. And it was probably the most important thing that I've done in recent history. I needed it so bad. And, I was meditating and eating well and doing yoga and exercising and just reading books and doing arts and crafts projects. And it was good timing because nobody freaking noticed because the world just stopped spinning. Right, so I came back, and then I worked sort of slowly at putting together an at-home music career. And honestly, 2020 didn't feel like a year off to me. I was busy AF all year in a healthy way. I mean, I'm sleeping in my bed every night. I'm eating home cooked meals every day, but I was working at my computer, just, working on various strategies to kind of keep building my career, building my relationship with my supporters on Patreon, working on output for them, covering songs. I wrote an ebook about Patreon. I started a YouTube series. Like, I did all sorts of stuff because I'm not capable of not doing. But I have absolutely, to answer your actual question, reassessed my approach to the road and to travel. And for me, I've instilled I'm looking at some pretty serious boundaries for touring in the future, only because I've realized there is so much work to do running a music career in addition to touring, that I was just trying to do in the slivers of time. I was playing 150 shows a year or more for 10 years and not leaving time to actually promote those shows or to get from point A to point B safely, or to schedule my travel or do any of the litany of things, go into things behind the scenes. So what I'm thinking now is, that I need to have time to tour, yes, but I also need to have time to run the administration of my business. I need to have time to create art, and I need to have time to be a human being. And those 4 things are equally important. So touring might look more like 25% of my overall calendar instead of 80 to 90%.
Are you going to continue the YouTube series even now that the lockdown is over? I'm just sorting out all my competition.
A few months ago. No, it's fine. I plan to. I want to, but I'll be real honest. At the beginning of this year, I had a few episodes in the pipeline, and right around the time of, this is going to get dark, and I apologize, but it is the true answer. Right around the time of the insurrection on January 6th, my train just jumped the tracks, and I couldn't focus on anything, and I lost just weeks to feeling just helpless and hopeless. And a lot of the momentum I had on some projects, including the YouTube series, just kind of stalled. And when I came back to myself and started trying to put things back together, I just started working on other stuff, and I haven't hopped back into the rhythm of keeping episodes coming for YouTube. So I have some interviews already recorded and ready to be edited into shows, and a little to-do list for YouTube. And so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to put together a season 2. But what I don't think in light of this whole conversation about managing, physical and mental health and balancing workloads, I don't think I'm going to be a YouTuber with a weekly series.
Right.
Because I think that's putting a little too much on myself.
Okay. So, all right, Grace, we just talked a while back, but I'll get to you in a second. Betty Sue, as far as, I don't know how much touring you were doing before this. Were you doing a lot?
Yeah, I was pretty busy. I had not been touring a ton under my name for the past couple of years, or, going into Nobody's Girl especially. But I was touring a lot with other projects.
Right.
I was in the Charlie Faye project.
Right.
I toured pretty hard with Bonnie Whitmore, and we were supporting James McMurtry all over the place, and with other bands, and then doing some of my own stuff too. But I don't think I ever stopped doing, like Rebecca said, 150 plus shows in a year. And I will say, for the past decade or more, we've all been believing the line that has it's become conventional wisdom, right? That the only income to be made in the live music and indie music business is from touring. And I think this pandemic really blew that myth up, because I know I'm not alone in the experience that while my gross income was far lower than it had been for many years, my net was actually higher because I wasn't paying for all of those hotel rooms,
right.
Rental cars,
right.
gas, et cetera. And airplane tickets, everything. And I think what it showed me too was that, yes, we all miss live shows, and we all miss performing with our bandmates. We all miss, interacting with our fans in person, and we miss going to shows. I mean, all of us are music fans.
Yeah.
Pretty much every musician I know is a music fan and loves going to stuff too. But, and while I really long for that authentic experience to return, I also had really authentic bonding experiences with a lot of fans who I didn't know well before this pandemic.
Right.
And I corresponded with them every week, or, was in chat with them every week or multiple times a week. And, and then there are fans who live in Omaha who,
right.
How often does an artist with my size fan base go to Omaha?
Right.
Not that often, So I think that they're much like, the advent of the MP3 this past year and what it did for live streaming. There's no going back. It's changed the way we're all going to do things for a long time. And I think it's going to make us smarter and more intentional about how we connect with people. And it's not one or the other. It's, here are these different tools to connect with people in new ways and in very authentic ways.
Yeah,
and so for me, I definitely am looking forward to, standing in a club and hearing myself through some rockin' monitors, and, for us to hear each other's harmonies on stage in real time. But but I'm also really grateful for, I feel like, just all of the new tools that we worked hard to incorporate into our universe this past year. So
Didn't I see you a few months ago doing a show from Continental Club? It was a live stream.
oh yeah, I did
That was great.
Austin New Year's Eve thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to tour with more intention and less just going out 150 days
Sure.
blindly. All right.
Absolutely.
Grace Pettis.
I feel like my experience was very different. I don't know. I'm just in a different season of my life, I think. As I said before, I had not a lot going on for me in my career for a long time.
Yeah.
It was a very long, dry spell, and it was rough emotionally and creatively. And so when Nobody's Girl picked up in 2017, and that was the year that Ruthie Foster recorded 2 of my songs, that was the other big thing that happened to me that year. And they happened like separate from each other and sort of at the same time. So it was just like all of a sudden I went from like nothing to like everything. And it just felt like suddenly there were possibilities. I was also turning 30 and really just kind of experienced this like renaissance of my career, which gave me a lot of hope and wind in my sails that I hadn't had for some years. And after having been on the road for like, nearly a decade at that point. So when I signed the publishing deal in 2019, and then I signed the record deal in January of 2020. It really felt like I owed it to myself mainly, after all these years of working so hard and nearly giving up a few times, to have that opportunity finally and to know what that's worth and know how few of us have that opportunity and get those advantages. And I'm very cognizant of my privilege in that, as a white straight girl, not that that's why my label signed me, but I have had opportunity to grow, and become the artist that I am because of my privilege. And so kind of understanding that and it's not like, I don't have like a major platform, but I had a little bit of money to make a record. I had an amazing team behind it. And all of this sort of fell into place like right before the world shut down. So for me, I just decided like I had to figure out a way to make it count anyway. And so and kind of like Becca said, it didn't really feel like a year off. If anything, I felt like I had to work twice as hard just to kind of stay on people's radar.
Right.
Meanwhile, getting paid not at all.
Right. Right.
At least in the beginning, I did launch a Patreon in the summer, and that has like sustained me. Also, my pub deal with BMG, paid my bills through November, and I'm still signed to them, but like the advance, I rode that out, and that was the reason I didn't have to drive for Uber, which is what I was doing before I signed the publishing deal. So I had that, and then I had a label that said, "Here's some money, go to Nashville, record a record in a safe way." We had already had. Like Mary Bragg, we'd been talking to and we signed and had her on board like in February or March and had all the players lined up. Everybody still wanted to do it. So it was like, it just felt like that felt like a gift to be able to hire all those people in the middle of a pandemic and give them work, give Mary like real work, something to do. Yeah. That felt like a gift. It felt like a gift to have a team that had something to do. All the people that we were all working on, we all like had, and for me, especially like to have a project, to have work to do, for me, that was my therapy. Like, that was the thing that got me through, is just getting up in the morning and feeling like I had something to work on that mattered. And we went all out and we decided to do things in a way, not knowing if there was going to be an industry on the other end of 2020. Right. Or if my lungs would work anymore. So we just sort of decided to make everything count. And that was the approach I took. It was a little bit manic. I had some moments that, weren't great. Around January, another thing that saved me in January when there were riots in the riot at the insurrection at the Capitol. The way that I dealt with that is I was working with my friend Cheryl Lee in Bastrop to move some Confederate monuments. And to raise some money, and we raised just under $20,000 to move those monuments, and so that nobody has to walk to the courthouse for their baptismal, or their, birth certificate or their wedding certificate and walk by those anymore.
Be reminded, yeah.
Yeah, so just seeing those Confederate flags at the Capitol flying in that kind of sacred space of our democracy just sort of fueled me in a way. I mean, I was already fueled, but that lit me up and made me angry and made me work really hard. And that work saved me. That got me through that period. I was also really a mess, as Becca was saying. I think we all were, and that was my way of coping and getting through it. So I probably will burn out pretty soon, because you can only do that for so long. But it was, I think that was the season for me, was just sort of getting angry and doing as much as possible.
Yeah. Is it hard to line stuff up and do stuff together right now? Like now you've got this album's about to launch. You just released your record. Everyone's getting back to playing shows. Things are all happening.
Well, we had the record, a lot of the dates were booked a year ago. So some of them, thankfully, we were able to just shift,
right?
Because a lot of those venues were closed. And we all have set aside the time in our calendar to really focus on this project. But it's something we definitely have to be intentional about and communicate well about. You guys want to weigh in on that?
I was just going to say, I think that scheduling has always been, even from you think about the very first video that we did, we couldn't all three get together to rehearse before going, to film our first video. We've all had different scheduling challenges, from having three separate careers and personal lives. So I think that we've developed a pretty good system of communicating and of blocking time for the band out in advance. I think you think about like a blended family, that has kids with multiple, custody arrangements. And the way that I see those, working the most healthily and happily is with like a really strong communication ethic and like some mad Google Calendar skills. Yeah. And I think that we've got that as a band in spades. We're sort of, our band's kind of like a blended family in a way.
Yeah. You guys are going to be doing shows in July and August and October. You're going to be doing some touring of the East Coast and stuff. When you guys do that, is it just the three of you? Or do you have a band?
On the road, it's generally the three of us. But in Texas and, kind of regionally, we usually have a band. It's just hard not to take advantage of all of the rich players, the riches of players that we have here around the Austin area. But yeah, I mean, generally when we go off on the road, we change everything into trio arrangements for the three of us, and we have a lot of sweet time together.
Yeah. Who is in the band here in Texas? Like who's...
It's a rotating cast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also tough.
Yeah. I think that's kind of... It's interesting that I think all three of us have pretty steady lineups for our own solo act bands. But when it comes to Nobody's Girl, it tends to be... for some reason, a little bit harder to keep everybody on the schedule. But the lucky thing is that all of us have so many good friends who are great players that we kind of get three wells to pull from.
Yeah. What's interesting is I was in a band when I was young that was two frontmen. Mm-hmm. And that was weird. It started out good at first and then it just got weird. There's one guy.
Weird how?
Go on.
Well, there's
what do you mean?
You have your friends, and we had a manager even that would be like, "Hey, man, don't let that guy sing all these songs because it's not." And you're like, and I don't know what she was telling him about me. You know what I mean? There's that kind of thing, and when you're young, you're susceptible to that kind of stuff. When I was older, I had a band with Casey Crowley and Jeremy Nail 10 years ago or so, and that was really so fun. Good. It was a really good band, and we did stuff together, and it went real well. But we just all were too in our own things to really keep on pushing forward with it. But there's a thing that happens. There has to be some kind of grace, and I remember thinking to myself when I was There was a song that Jeremy and I had written, but I primarily wrote the song, but I wrote it with Jeremy's voice in mind. And like in my 24-year-old band, I would have never fucking done that in a second. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you sing this, man. I think you would sound better singing. Like, there's a certain amount of maturity. You have to be able to handle this with some kind of grace. Pettis.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I'm such a Jeremy Nail fan.
Me too.
But I think that's one thing that kind of like in that vein that has been a saving grace for this band is that we are all real fans of each other.
Yeah.
Right. So none of us are really looking to take the lion's share of attention or of, leading parts or whatever. Like we literally will get emotional on stage on a nightly basis listening to each other sing. Like somebody else will take a lead on a part and we'll be like, hold on a second. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's true. And I think that I guess you'd have to have that for something like this to work, right? Otherwise you'd constantly be like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I think we're all very comfortable with the fact that we know every fan out there is going to have a favorite.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay.
I'm in this cover band, Skyrocket, and I found a fan that, because we have a bunch of singers in that band, and that thing, like, it's nobody's songs, so it's real easy to, like,
Right.
you don't give a shit. Like, I didn't write that song. I don't care if you sing it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the thing, because there's times when there's one person in particular in the band that's like, man, what if we all started like writing original stuff and recording together? I'd be like, man, we'd be together like 45 seconds. Like that's about how long we would last in that situation.
Well, and that's one thing we're really lucky with that you just can't predict with people that you collaborate with is the co-writing. You just don't know that that's going to go well. Or I've co-written a lot of songs with a lot of people that, I love writing with them and no knock on them, but I kind of end up doing like 80% of the work when they contribute like one cool line or like one cool melody. And it's not to like devalue that contribution, but it doesn't feel totally equal. It doesn't feel totally collaborative. And that's fine. That's just like, that's a fun thing to do on a weekend is co-write with somebody like that and get a new song out of it that you wouldn't have gotten before. But it's different with Nobody's Girl because in this band, we're all equally strong writers. I mean, if I do say
and singers.
To pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, and musicians.
But I think we're all good at writing songs. And I think we all love writing songs. And we're all sort of operating at a similar level. We like writing with each other. We respect each other in the writer's room and what each of us brings to the table as songwriters. So there's kind of a level of it's like an equal playing field and all of the songs are co-writes. So it's just really different from, a lot of other projects I can think of, projects I've been involved in even, is like you were saying, usually like one song tends to be like more one person or more another person. Right. And we just don't really have that in this band. We have an equal split of all the songs. So it makes it a little more, I don't know, it's a little more equitable already, you know, just going in. And from there, like Rebecca, I will say, works really, really hard on our set list. It's like color coded. It's like Leslie Note from Parks and Rec. Like it's amazing. And it's
somewhere she's got secret binders.
Like binders. Binders of women. No, I'm just kidding. But she's got like, she has it organized by like who, and for our shows that we used to do where we had, only an EP's worth of co-write material. Right. The rest of the set was solo songs. So, she's working in like, okay, who wrote this song and who's singing lead and and just like trying to make it as kind of balanced as possible. Now for the new record, all of the songs in our set, because we've got a whole full-length record and an EP's worth. Yeah. So we've got enough to do like a full long set of all songs that we wrote together.
That's amazing.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because we are different writers. Like, each of our solo catalogs of songs, I think, sound distinctive to the person. But I think what's great is that we are such fans of so many of the same songs and songwriters. Right. So, like, we all have an appreciation, a shared aesthetic for, like, what makes a great song in each of our universe, Right. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see you guys. I've never seen you play live.
Come hang out.
Yeah. When is the show here in Austin? It's like the 28th or something of July?
29th. 29th at the Long Center. Lawn of the Long
that's
Center.
Amazing. That's right up the
Great.
street.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. Yeah.
Okay, July 29th. And are you guys doing shows on your own between now and then still? A lot of... Grace, you're out there.
Yes. What about you, Betty Sue?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm spending a little bit of time up in Vermont for June, but I'm still doing my weekly show. And then mid-July, I'm going to start doing my weekly residency in person in Austin. And
where's
between
that?
now and then, I'll do at Quack's
nice.
and Bush's Coffee House, the new version of Strange Brew.
Oh,
And
awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited about that. And I'll be going to like Woody Fest and playing out in Easton at the Avalon and stuff. So we're all kind of, I guess I'm trying to keep my toe in without going crazy. you know?
Yeah. What about you, Rebecca?
I'm doing... Oh, sorry.
I am.
sorry.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I've actually, as you know, because I was so crispy fried burnt out towards the end of the before times, I am sort of reapproaching touring like a drug that I enjoy a lot and want to just like snort up all of, but I'm really trying not to let myself, because I know that once I get a little bit in, it's gonna go crazy. So I am only going to play 2 solo shows this year. One will be in Austin for my birthday in August, and then one in the Hill Country in November. And other than that, I'm developing a new stage show for 2022 for solo stuff. But I am focusing, my energy for live performing with Nobody's Girl this year, and just trying to get back into it incredibly slowly so that I don't take it too far too fast.
Yeah.
I think we're all playing shows on our birthday. I know Betty Sue has a birthday show coming up soon. And I'm doing one as well in October.
When's your birthday?
When's your birthday, Betty Sue?
No.
You're
I'm
talking to
not
me.
Yeah, yours.
Grace. October.
Oh, mine is in October 12th. But I mention it because I just finalized, I'm doing a residency at Saxon. And I'm doing like a show every month there, I think through like September through December, something like that. Or is it October through something like that? And October 12th is one of those dates. So those are about to hit my calendar like today or tomorrow. But
Yay!
Yeah, but I'm also keeping up with like my Patreon shows that I do every month. Keeping some virtual options going for people because I know not everybody's in the same boat.
How's the Trekkies and
but
Troubadours?
I'm definitely playing a bunch. What's that?
Trekkies and Troubadours going good?
Troubadour is on Trek.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I said
Although
it wrong.
that name is maybe better than
No, that was just shitty. I didn't mean to. That wasn't condescending in any way. I just got the name wrong.
No, it was kind of better.
Troubadours on
It's
Trek.
fine. It's too late. No, it's still going.
It's too
I just interviewed Ted Young. The latest episode is up on Patreon. It'll be up. It'll be up on all the podcast things in like a month. But I just interviewed Ted Young, who is a Grammy-winning audio engineer. He worked on like a Rolling Stones record, and is also like a huge Trekkie, and was like so much fun. It was so much fun. It's one of my favorite episodes so far. It was the Corbomite maneuver.
Yeah.
It's a great episode. You know the one. But I just also had Rebecca and Betty Sue as the 2 previous episodes before
nice.
that. So, and those 2 are available now, so you can go and hear their perspectives. And some great episodes of Trek.
I really, really like that Grace is not like a poser about her Trekkiness. She is like authentically, deeply knowledgeable about the universe of Trek.
Trekkies are like that, though. Man,
Yeah.
they're like that.
Yeah.
They
I
don't.
feel like there are a lot of Trek lights out there who they're like I love Trek, and then you see them try to have a conversation with Grace, and she's very sweet about it, but they clearly do not know what she knows. But it's pretty intense. Her
knowledge runs deep. Her love is true.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It was actually at a Nobody's Girl show, like after the show, because they're the reason that I like people know that I'm a Trek fan, because I was sort of like not talking about it, and then they started talking about it on stage, and so like after the show, people come up to me, like other Trekkies, and we have conversations. And at a Nobody's Girl show, it's so funny you mentioned this, because like the last episode we did was the Corbomite maneuver, and somebody like referenced it in a conversation after a show, except they said carbonite, and I was like, no, carbonite is the substance that they froze Han Solo in. Corbomite is the maneuver that Kirk pulled in the Corbomite maneuver, episode 10 of the original series, season 1. So like, it was a moment for me, because in that moment I had been wanting to do the podcast for a long time. This is prior to 2020, obviously. And, but I had been kind of scared, and they know I was like listening to podcasts in the van when it was my turn to pick the music, going like, this guy shouldn't have a podcast. You know what I mean?
It
like,
wasn't mine, was it?
Kind of like, no.
Okay.
It was a Trek podcast. But I was like, I can do this. But I wasn't really sure. And then after that conversation, I was like, I think maybe I'm nerdy enough.
Yeah, man.
I think I can do this.
You think? Syndrome was just like gone when she was like, first of all, I know more than any of these podcasts that I'm listening to. And then all these fans who come up to me feeling very confident about talking about Trek. She's like, I think I know more than they do too.
I was just trying to hype myself up. Like a lot of those I really don't know more than, but I was like trying to I was trying to get my nerve up.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some seriously knowledgeable Trekkies out there too.
It's
intimidating.
I had an embarrassing.
I will consider that one of.
Oh no, go ahead, Rebecca.
I was just going to say I will consider that one of my proudest accomplishments, along with Betty Sue, that we dragged Grace out of the Trek closet publicly.
You're out there.
You did.
I had a nerd moment, and I was kind of embarrassed about it. I went to a coffee shop the other day, and this lady had her dog had a David Bowie collar, but it was like David Bowie, like Aladdin Sane with like the lightning thing on his face. And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, man, I love Ziggy Stardust." There was a guy standing in between us, and I just looked at him, and I was like, "No, dude, that's Aladdin Sane." And then I looked at him, and they were both looking at me like, "Jesus, dude, easy." And I was like, "I'm just a nerd." I'm sorry.
You're like, just sit in your wrongness and just be wrong in it.
Yeah. Listen, buddy.
In fact, give me that collar.
Yeah.
I should own that.
Yeah.
You don't deserve it.
You don't deserve that collar. Well, your record is great. Your songs are amazing. And all of you guys, everybody involved did such an amazing job on this record. And all of you, I'm a fan of each of you individually. I'm a fan of Nobody's Girl. People can find you guys at wearenobodiesgirl.com. The album self-titled. Oh, who did the artwork of you guys on the cover?
Why am I blanking on his last name?
Jennings?
I'm also
Not Jennings.
Jennings. No, but Bo Jennings is a musician.
Oklahoma.
Sorry, Johnny. It's been 18 months since we did the album art.
I forgot how to people.
Bow Shoulders.
Bow Shoulders.
Bow Shoulders.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I forgot how to people.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I wish you guys all the luck in the world, and this will be up in a few weeks, and it's been great talking to all of you, catching up. Great to see you, Betty Sue, too. I haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you so much for talking with us today. We were so excited about it.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you for having us, Johnny.
Thanks for being on the show.
It doesn't help to know you're just time away. Long ago I reached for you.
Betty Sue, Rebecca Loby, and Grace Pettis, Nobody's Girl. What a great conversation, man. They're fucking great. I love them. And I do want to go on that Star Trek podcast, you know? So invite me on, Grace Pettis, if you're still listening now. Go to wearenobodiesgirl.com to get involved. Go check out all the singles that they've released from their self-titled LP, which drops on July 30th. And don't forget, when you're out there checking out wearenobodiesgirl.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere. Right now, we're dropping 3 shows a week. There'll be a new show on Friday with the great yacht rock pop band Yate. All right? Let's enjoy the rest of this version of of So Far Away, the great Carole King song, as interpreted by Nobody's Girl from their upcoming self-titled LP, out July 30th. Have a great week. And hey, gang, don't forget, you see somebody on here you don't know, trust me. Listen to the conversation. Listen to the music. I might turn you on to someone new. Have a great week. Let's get down.
far away. One more song about moving along the highway. Can't say much of anything that's new. If I could only work this life out my way, I'd rather spend it being close to you. You're so far away. Doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore? It would be so fine to see your face at my door. Doesn't help to know you're so far away. Yeah, you're so far away. Traveling around sure gets me down and lonely. Nothing else to do but close my mind. And I sure hope the road don't come to own me. There's so many dreams I've yet to find, but you're so far away. Doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore? It would be so fine to see your face at my door. Doesn't help to know that you're just far away. You're so far. I can't say much of anything that's new. Doesn't anybody